Hi everyone. Cartoons are usually considered to be an entertainment for children, unlikely to be of interest to an adult audience.
How is it for you? Tell me everything.
However, animation artists take their job very seriously, and sometimes you can find really unexpected messages and secrets in cartoons and animated movies. When you notice them, you'll realize it's not just children's entertainment, because some of these mysteries can't be solved even by adults. Well, let's dive into the secrets of the most famous cartoons. Let's get it on. Pearl Crab's parents. Despite appearing simple and even slightly dumb, SpongeBob SquarePants raises many questions. Why does Squidward only wear a t-shirt and SpongeBob wears pants? Why does Gary the snail meow? How can fire burn underwater? And yet, the most important of them, the one that troubles many fans, is about Pearl, the daughter of Mr. Krabs. Who are her real parents? Of course, not everything in this series can be explained logically, but let's face it, Mr. Krabs cannot be the biological father of a young sperm whale. Maybe he adopted Pearl then, but where is her mother? Pearl definitely had one. Moreover, Krabs clearly knew her. In one of the episodes, he confessed Pearl takes after her mother. According to one fan theory, Pearl's mother became a victim of whalers, and Mr. Krabs saved her baby. It's all very heartwarming, but there's one little issue. In the episode Whale of a Birthday, Mr. Krabs shows a ribbon with the inscription "It's a girl," saying he's kept it from the day Pearl was born, so he couldn't have adopted Pearl since he saw her being born. According to additional material, Pearl's mother did marry Mr. Krabs when she was pregnant, but Steven Hillenburg, the creator of the show, didn't want to reveal it in the series. Apparently, Pearl's mother died, and Krabs became a single father. But what about the biological father? All we know is that he was a sperm whale, but nobody knows where he is now. One theory suggests he's in prison. It's no coincidence that the episode Jailbreak features a whale that really does look like Pearl. It would also explain why Pearl's mother left her father and married someone else. Squidward's house. Say what you like, but we find the houses in SpongeBob pretty weird. For example, the main character lives in a pineapple, which somehow doesn't collapse underwater. At first glance, Squidward's house seems to be an extension of his character. It's just as bleak and gloomy. It's made of dark stone and has a heavy eyebrow. By the way, doesn't this grim stone face remind you of anything? It's a Moe, one of the famous statues on Easter Island. Somewhat modified, but hey, it's a cartoon. There's a squirrel living underwater. Stop judging. However, unlike Maui's statues, Squidward's house has eyes and a door, as well as a rather pleasant interior. The main question is, how did this huge statue end up underwater, so far away from Easter Island? Well, maybe some of those sculptures were in the Bikini Atoll, and some of them eventually became the home of this unhappy octopus. Simba's roar. The new King of the Lion film will hit the screens pretty soon, which means it's time to rewatch the Disney classic again.
Long live the king.
By the way, listen to Simba roaring. Okay, he roars like any lion, you might think. Well, turns out, the studio decided to use a tiger roar instead of a lion roar. It's not a sophisticated Easter egg, which only zoologists specializing in predatory felines would notice. Turns out lions roar a lot quieter than tigers, and much less impressively. Find some videos from a zoo and you can see it for yourself. The filmmakers needed a really intense roar for the epic moments, so Simba was voiced over by an anonymous tiger. Tarzan relatives. If you're keen on searching for hidden messages in cartoons and coming up with fan theories, you probably know that Disney Studios likes to intertwine the stories of different characters. For example, Jennifer Lee, the director of Frozen, admitted on Reddit that the King and Queen of Arendelle were going to a wedding in the neighboring kingdom. Most likely it was the wedding of Rapunzel and Eugene, who can then be seen later at Elsa's coronation. But there's more. According to Chris Buck, the co-director of Frozen, the King and Queen of Arendelle did not die in the shipwreck. They were thrown ashore on a tropical island. They built a treehouse where the queen gave birth to a boy, but the family was attacked by a predator, and only the baby managed to survive. Sound familiar? That's right, it's the beginning of Tarzan. By the way, Chris Buck directed that as well. Looks like Anna and Elsa have a brother who's really good at climbing trees. Ariel's face. Cartoonists often make their characters look like certain actors. It's just easier and also makes the cartoon more memorable for the viewer.
Can't touch this. Can't touch this.
Ariel was no exception. The character was based on the mermaid from Andersen's fairy tale, but co-director and screenwriter Ron Clements found the story was too tragic and sad, so he changed it. Ariel's original look was designed by animator Glenn Keane, who said that the Little Mermaid's look was inspired by his wife, but another prototype for Ariel was actress Alyssa Milano. At that time, she was 16 years old, but even if you look at the grown-up Milano and compare her to Ariel, you can definitely see the similarity. Robot's name. WALL-E is probably one of the most adorable and tragic love stories in human history.
WALL-E!
The protagonist, WALL-E, is a cute little robot that cleans up garbage on an abandoned planet formerly known as Earth. When one day, well, you should really see the movie, we'll just reveal one little secret about it. We're talking about the name of the robot. The little janitor's name was chosen for a reason. It's actually a reference to Mr. Disney himself. His full name is Walter Elias Disney, abbreviated WALL-E. Another L was just added to make it look more like a robot name. Nice, isn't it? Peddler. Do you remember the beginning of the film Aladdin? Maybe in the desert? Or with Aladdin running on the rooftops from the guards? In fact, the first scene features a peddler trying to attract the buyer, that is, the viewer.
Salam and good evening to you.
And when the buyer, that is, the viewer, is about to leave, the peddler makes a last desperate attempt to stop him and pulls a lamp out of his sleeve. He assures it's not just any lamp. He rubs it and starts telling the story of Aladdin. This makes the whole cartoon a story told by a cunning merchant in one of Agrabah's markets. Yeah, back when they knew how to advertise. By the way, there's a theory that this peddler is actually the genie. First of all, it would explain how an apparently ordinary merchant got hold of such a valuable object. And secondly, they look almost the same. Take a look. A black goatee, a cunning smile, lots of blue, an oval body shape. Now, of course, you could attribute this to the laziness of the animators, but it's Aladdin, one of the coolest Disney cartoons. It is unlikely that the studio would have allowed such an accidental resemblance. By the way, these are the only characters who break the fourth wall, that is, communicate with the audience, and even make references to things from our time, and Robin Williams voiced them both.
Come on, kid. See? Gotta get the snake, see?
I never did it. I am not at fault.
I don't care what I am.
You think he just did 2 for the price of 1? We doubt it. South Park's virtual world. Most of our viewers have probably heard of South Park, and some have even watched it, but hardly anyone's ever seen it in its entirety. And yet, in some episodes, you can find truly exciting and even slightly crazy secrets. How about the theory that South Park is actually a virtual world, and everything that happens isn't real? In the 7th episode of the 18th season, the creators of the series suddenly took the action into our world, but only for a few seconds, showing how the characters would look in our world.
What do you think of the Oculus? It's pretty cool, but the graphics...
The animated South Park turned out to be a simulation that Stan said was pretty cool. Shrek's prototype. It's hard to imagine the man Shrek was based on. You know, people aren't usually green, they're much smaller too and have very different facial features. Besides, the directors of DreamWorks Studios, as well as writer William Steig, never said anything about a person inspiring them to create the famous green ogre. But look at Maurice Tillett, and you'll see, he and Shrek look like brothers. Except for the colour of the skin and the shape of the ears, of course. Maurice suffered from acromegaly, a disease in which the hands, feet and skull grow disproportionately. However, he studied law and then served in the French Navy for 5 years as an engineer. Afterwards, Maurice engaged in wrestling and became a real star, until the giant started having health problems. He died on September 4th, 1954 at the age of 50, but half a century later, he might have helped animators to create one of the most recognizable characters of the past years. Curly Princess. You may have noticed that almost all Disney princesses have straight or maybe slightly wavy hair, and there's a reason for that. But it's not that the company has a secret contract with hair iron manufacturers. Rumor has it that Ariel was also supposed to have beautiful red curls, but here's the problem. In 1989, animators just couldn't draw curly hair and make it look beautiful and realistic enough. That's why the first curly Disney princess was Merida from Brave, released in 2012. A special simulator was designed for 3 years to create the look, predicting the behavior of 1,500 strands of more than 111,700 hairs. Just imagine, the artist spent over 2 months creating the scene where Merida just takes the hood off and her curls fall down, but it was definitely worth the effort. Psst, dude, are you looking for new technologies and great gadgets? Are your thoughts focused on the future? Do you love huge vehicles and can't imagine your life without robots around you? Then visit TechZone and you'll find all this and more. The link is in the description. You interested? Great.